A man named Lorenzo is being pursued by certain persons at the beginning of the film. Lorenzo, a gambler, triumphed over Gino Gerbino. Gino's pal wants to kill Lorenzo because he can't handle losing. Thankfully, Lorenzo escapes the following day. Lorenzo's pals inform him that Gino's men are pursuing him and won't stop until you're dead, so he needs to get out of town. Lorenzo gallops out of town on his horse. The princess of the town, Pia, is the next girl we meet. She feels incredibly alone because her parents recently perished from the virus. Subsequently, Gerbino visits her and assures her that he will look after her. Pia assures him that she will soon wed Zins, a Russian prince, so he need not worry. Gino makes up the story that Pia's father borrowed money from him to pay off a large debt. I gave your father a loan so he could pay off his debts using this property and all of his other assets as collateral. As a result, Pia will receive nothing from her father's estate. All of it now goes to Dabino. But he will forgive her father's debt if Pia marries him. Pia stays silent and departs as Gino's men pursue Lorenzo with the intention of killing him. Lorenzo climbs a tree and tricks them, but the branch breaks and he falls, unconscious. Several nuns pass by and carry Lorenzo to the church, where they are enthralled with his appearance and, unable to resist, begin kissing him. Believing he is deaf and mute, they continue to play with him. Later, their mother arrives and inquires about Lorenzo. The nuns lie and say he is a gardener who is deaf and mute. After learning of everything, Lorenzo uses this as an opportunity to hide from Gino's men inside the church. Are you able to hear me? Later, when Pia is with her friends talking about how to avoid Gerbino, two nuns enter while Lorenzo is taking a bath. Lorenzo surprises them both by having an intimate moment with each of them. Her pals advise her to become a nun by attending a local church. They advise her to be safe and heed their instructions until Prince Zinsko arrives in a few days, at which point she can marry him. Pampa goes to church dressed as a nun. She asks who Lorenzo is after noticing him. The nuns inform her that he is not just deaf and dumb, but also the man who tends to our gardens. When she hears this, she begins to observe him. A few days later, Zinsko arrives at the palace to marry Pampa, but instead, he meets Gino. Zinka becomes enraged and leaves the palace. He finds out from a worker that Pampa has gone to the church in the nearby town and is hiding there disguised as a nun. She's safe and well, and no matter what, your here is waiting for your arrival. This letter will give you instructions on how to get to her villa in the country, and she'll meet you there for the wedding. After hearing this, Zins quickly heads toward the church. Two nuns approach Lorenzo, telling him that they have never clapped before and asking him to do the same. Lorenzo is too kind to turn them down. They carry him to their mother's chamber once they have finished clapping, and he continues to clap the mother all day. But Pampa isn't fond of all of this. She goes straight to Lorenzo the following day and tells him how she feels. When Lorenzo tries to remove her veil, she blindfolds him instead. After discovering how unusual everything is, Lorenzo becomes even more ecstatic. However, Pampa simply gives him a kiss and declares her liking for him, but when he takes off the blindfold, he discovers she has vanished. Pampa then approaches the mother directly and accuses Lorenzo of lying. He's not deaf or dumb. She heard him singing in the garden. In the garden, I heard him singing. In an attempt to wake him up, the mother sneaks into Lorenzo's room and whispers in his ear that she is going to kill him. Fearing for his life, Lorenzo wakes up and cries, "Please don't kill me." Rai lies about his infirmity, which infuriates the mother, who then banishes Lorenzo from the church. It's a wonder I can talk after this. Pampa also departs from the cathedral, making her way back to her palace. Since he doesn't have a place of his own, Lorenzo tells her to bring him along. Pia is relieved to hear this because she had hoped Lorenzo would accompany her. Subsequently, Prince Zina is observed approaching the church. He meets Melissa Zins, a nun taking a bath there, and she informs him that he is the Prince of Russia, coming to marry Princess Pampa. When he inquires about Pampana's whereabouts, the nun deceives him by claiming to be Pampa Ziska. After hearing this, Pia is ecstatic, and they both clap. You will soon become Pomp Anastasi. Is this not true, my bride? No, you have heeded my call, and I am an enchantress. Now that they have arrived in town, Pia offers Lorenzo a few days of company at her house. Lorenzo, please stay a little while longer when it's dinner time. Lorenzo admits that he kissed a nun in the cathedral and fell in love. Even though he was unable to see her face, he expressed his desire to marry her. Lorenzo is unaware that Pia is the same person he is referring to. When Gerbino arrives in the interim and sees Lorenzo with Pampa, he becomes enraged and begins to fight him. He's about to kill Lorenzo, but before he can do so, Pampa informs him she's willing to marry him, provided he lets Lorenzo go. Gino then locks Lorenzo up in a jail cell. The following day, Pampa informs Gino that she will not wed him unless he safely releases Lorenzo from custody. Let Lorenzo go so you can send the priest after him. You will now wed me. Yes, Gerbino becomes really irate upon learning this, but ultimately concedes to her request. After Lorenzo is released from the cell, Pia begs him to go find his true love. But when Lorenzo is being escorted out of town by Gino's friends, they attack him, forcing Lorenzo to fight himself and ultimately killing them both. After that, Lorenzo departs to bring Pampa back to the town. Zinza appears unexpectedly during Pampa and Gino's wedding ceremony, which is being officiated by the church father. He states that he is the one who will marry Pia and that she is his property. Gino and his troops are then attacked by Zinza. When Lorenzo shows up, they start fighting. While pursuing Pampa, Gerbino runs across Zinza. The two fight, but Zinza overcomes him and appears to be going to kill him. Lorenzo steps in at this point and informs Zins that Gerbino is his target and that he will be the one to murder him. Sword in hand, Gerbino starts battling on top of a well. Gino is forced into the well by Lorenzo when he overpowers him, falling to his death. After that, Zinka approaches Pampa and proposes marriage, but she declines. One of the boldest, most attractive men I've ever encountered is you, Sinsky. Yes, I am aware, but I am unable to wed you. Pampa removes her veil and asks Zinsko, who is perplexed, what transpired the day before. Zinzer notices that Pampa isn't the same person he once fell in love with. Melissa shows up out of nowhere. After declaring his love for her, Zinzer gives her a kiss. Pampa is unable to locate Lorenzo, who vanished. When Pia hears Lorenzo walking away, she rushes outside, stops him, and tells him she loves him. You've taken my heart, Lorenzo. Lorenzo rejects my love for him since he is in love with the nun who kissed him at the church. He is asked to close his eyes by Pampa, who then gives him a kiss. Pampa is the girl Lorenzo had fallen in love with, he realized. This lovely revelation marks the end of the film.